You're scrolling through the endless list of jointers, wondering which one will actually sit quietly in your shop, cut cleanly every time, and not bleed you dry when you need to replace a blade or move it across the floor. It's a real dilemma because the last thing you want is to spend a good chunk of money on a machine that looks great on paper but turns into a daily frustration. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What most people don't talk about in the spec sheets is how a jointer fits into the rhythm of a weekend warrior's workflow, and that's what I'm trying to unpack today. First off, let's talk about the space you'll actually use. The Powermatic 1791279DXK is a 6-inch jointer, which means the cutting width is modest compared to the 8-inch beasts you see in full-time commercial shops. For a home-based woodworker who mainly tackles tabletop projects, doors, or small furniture, that 6-inch width is more than enough. The 66 by 7-inch table surface gives you a comfortable area to rest a board while you feed it through, and the quick-set knives mean you won't be wrestling with a wrench for 10 minutes every time you need a fresh edge. I've watched a few makers on YouTube replace those knives in under a minute, and that speed translates directly into less downtime when you're on a deadline. Now, the part that often gets overlooked is the mobile base. It's a steel frame with a powder-coated finish that resists rust, and it rolls on sturdy casters. In a cramped garage, that mobility can be a lifesaver. You can pull the jointer out of the corner, set it up next to your table saw, and then tuck it away when you're done. The base is heavy enough to stay put when the motor's humming, yet light enough that 2 people can lift it onto a workbench without a dolly. If you've ever tried to push a stationary, bolted-down machine across a concrete floor, you'll appreciate that flexibility. Who should consider this unit? If you're someone who does a decent amount of edge jointing, say you're building cabinets, making tabletops, or routinely flattening rough lumber, you'll benefit from the 1 horsepower motor. It provides enough torque to handle hardwoods like maple or walnut without stalling, as long as you keep the feed rate steady. The motor's single-phase design also keeps the electrical requirements simple. You won't need a special 240-volt outlet. On the flip side, if your projects are limited to occasional trim work or you only need to clean up the edge of a board once a year, the extra horsepower and the quickset system might be overkill. In that case, a less expensive benchtop model could do the job without the extra weight and price tag. Let's walk through a real-world scenario. Imagine you've just bought a slab of reclaimed pine that's a bit warped and you need a perfectly flat reference face before you start cutting. You set the slab on the 66-inch table, adjust the outfeed fence, and pull it through the knives at a controlled pace. Because the knives are set quickly, you can swap them out if you notice any chatter on the first pass. No need to stop the whole project and hunt for a separate set of blades. After a few passes, the edge is true, and you can move straight to ripping that slab on your table saw. The whole process feels seamless, and you never have to worry about the knives slipping out of alignment, something that can happen on cheaper jointers with looser adjustment mechanisms. What about the hidden trade-offs? The compact size means the cutter head is closer to the table, which can be a little intimidating when you're feeding a thick board. You have to be mindful of the maximum depth of cut, around 1/8 inch per pass, and respect it, or you'll feel that motor strain. Some users have mentioned that the motor can get warm after an extended session, so giving it a short break after a half hour of continuous use helps it stay within a comfortable temperature range. The powder-coated finish does a solid job against humidity, but it's still advisable to keep the unit in a dry environment. Otherwise, you might notice a thin film of moisture on the surface after a rainy day, which is more an aesthetic concern than a functional one. Value for money comes from that combination of quickset knives and the mobile base. The knives themselves are a separate cost item on most brands, and they're often the most frequent replacement part on a jointer. Powermatic's quickset system reduces the labor and tool cost associated with those swaps. Add to that the fact that the machine is built on a steel chassis, not a flimsy cast iron one, and you're looking at a tool that can survive being moved around the shop for years without the table wobbling. The 4.7-star rating from over 7,000 reviewers tells me that the majority of owners are happy with that durability and the ease of blade changes. If you're a hobbyist who